Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome to the second edition of Slingin Dirt for the 2014 season.
Boy, we got a humdinger today. You play that song, that money, and I just want to go get a win, get claimed. I don't know if that happens anymore, though.
We're kicking off tonight's show with an interview from a guy who just can't stop winning. It's Adam Armstrong, driver of the is it the 6A? The 6A, there we go. The 6A hobby stock all throughout the Midwest. And seriously, are you going to let anybody else win once or twice?
Hey, I'm open. They've been several chances. Up at I-80 one night, and I was running third going in the last corner, and they gave it to me. So there's been plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, that was a rather close finish at I-80 and caused a little bit of a ruckus in the dirt world.
Yeah, it was just one of them finishes that if you ain't seen it, you got to see it. You go to moreracevideos.com. I think you've got it on YouTube anyway. But I was in third place going to the last corner. Really didn't have a shot at really winning it. Just hoping and praying, something was going to happen. If there something was, I was going to need to be on the top side. And that's kind of where I was. And we went in the last corner, and R.J. Matthew and J.C. Cole were battling it out. And they thought it was just them two. So, they weren't giving each other any room at all. And they slowed each other up just enough. And I was up on the top side, and I had a heck of a run off turn 4 and was able to just get them at the line. It was close, but I'd say at least probably 10 foot before the line. According to the photo I seen, I had it. So it was close. Inside the car, I had no idea until they actually came on a receiver and they told us, hey, 6A, you are the winner. And it was it's unreal. It was an unreal feeling.
Was that the closest win or the most excited win that you've had so far this season?
Oh, I had one other one. That's definitely the closest. But down at the Sunflower Classic in Hays, Kansas, it was the same deal. I was in third. We were right there. It was a great race. About the last half of the feature, me, Dylan Thompson, and Chuck Madden, we were all right there. And Chuck had a pretty good lead on me and Dylan. And we closed up on him. He was just trying to, run consistent laps. Well, he slowed himself up so much that we caught him. And on the last lap, Dylan went around him on the outside. Well, he didn't want Dylan to get around him, so he ran Dylan up in the marbles, which he got himself up in the marbles as well. So then I just went around the bottom and drove around both of them.
You're like, okay, win's a win.
Yep. That stuff kind of, wins like that happen, once every 5 years, and I had two of them within like 2 weeks. And it's I guess it's just one of them seasons where, if it's going to go my way, it's just going to happen.
They ask the NASCAR boys at Talladega and Daytona every time they go there, where do they want to be on the last lap? Are you leaning towards third place on every dirt track race now?
I would much rather be up in the lead, but apparently that's just where you got to be.
Adam, every year it seems like it doesn't matter if we were to go to Eagle Raceway, I-80 Speedway, Shelby County Speedway, Tokyo Speedway in Japan, somewhere.
I love that track.
Oh yeah, the Tokyo. I tell you what, they got the best.
Don't say anything racist. I'm telling you right now.
I'm not.
You've got a bad habit of just be careful.
I will publicly tell you that I am racist. I race I-80 Speedway. I race Eagle Raceway.
And I'll tell you that he's racist.
And I'm thinking Adam Armstrong's even racist. He races Beatrice Speedway and whatnot.
Tokyo Speedway.
Yeah, Tokyo Speedway. But with that being said, Adam runs up front everywhere he goes. He's a contender. I think the guy could take a wheelbarrow with a broken handle and a flat tire and somehow get it to the front, something I have yet to master after 21 years. But with this year in particular, Adam, you have 15 starts, 12 wins. And of the 12 wins, 6 or 7 of them are specials. What is it that you have found this year that's propelled you to, new heights?
Well, last year, I took a step up. I went to the IMCA stock car division, which is a very, very competitive class. And, and I drove for a couple guys, and I was racing Beatrice weekly. And Beatrice only getting 8 or 9 stock cars. It was really disappointing. And we were trying every single week, trying different stuff. We always seemed to just kind of get ourselves out in left field on the setup, and we either hit it or we just completely missed it. And but I did learn some things from the class. That class being at the rules that they have, and to win a race in a stock car, you have got to be on your game. I mean, they put on the best. I'm going to tell you, they put on some of the best racing at a dirt track you can go to. And so one of the things I took from that class is the momentum racing, not killing your speed, always keeping your speed up. And that was always huge in the stock car class. And, that's one thing that I've been able to use, this year in the hobby stock. And I've been racing, hobby stocks ever since I started pretty much. I ventured off in the sport mod class and, for a few races, and I pretty much raced everything you can. I drove a compact one night in a heat race even, but this year I got a car. It's 10 years old. We built it in 2004. Over the winter, I cut it all apart. Kind of just did it the way that I've been kind of thinking of building a race car. I didn't have the money at the time to build a brand new race car, so I just took this one and kind of tinkered with it the way I've been thinking about doing, and it seems it's a rocket. I honestly, I didn't foresee the season going. If I got 10 wins this year, I was going to be, that was a good year. I mean, that would have been a great year after the year I had last year. And, and I do have a brand new jet car in the shop. I'm getting it together. And we took some of the things that I did, and you put it on this new jet car, which John builds great cars. I had one in 2012, and I think I had 19 wins that year, and he builds great cars. So I think, the little stuff that we did to it, it's just going to make it even better. But this year, for me, I've always I've always dreamed about, making a run at a national championship. And, I guess we've tried it before, but, the most wins I've had in a season was 22. And, that was a really good year, but, it's not even the end of May, and and I've already got 12 wins, and it's starting to look more realistic. Like I could have a shot at it. I'm still telling myself that we're just going to wait and see, but with this many wins and how well the car's going, I can't help but kind of think about it a little bit. But we're just going to I'm just going to run two nights a week. I've already done pretty much all the racing I wanted to out of town, gone to pretty well every racetrack I could throughout from February through April. I went to pretty much everywhere. So, this is just one of them magical seasons, and I hope it just keeps on going.
Well, it's got to be tough not to start seeing the prize at the end of the year with winning as much as you are.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I said. It's May. It's not even the end of May. And we're almost. Basically, from what I've seen and watched for these guys that win the national championships, I've never even been a part of this, so this is all new to me. But from what I've seen, you got to have at least 30 wins, because they take your best 30 finishes out of your first 55 starts. And so a perfect season would be the maximum 30 wins. Well, you also got to have 2 track championships, and you got to at least have 20 cars at each track. Well, the one track we're doing fine at, Hayes, Kansas, that's where I'm racing on Saturday nights. They've been averaging over 30 cars each night. But Beatrice, I'm going to have to try and recruit some guys. We've only been getting 19, which we're close. But yeah, obviously I'm already, thinking about that, the car count, which, if you're gonna actually have a legit shot at it, you got to think about that, even where you're even going to race at the beginning of the year, knowing that, they're going to have a good car count, and you're going to be able to get the required amount of races in the season. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely on my mind, but I'm just trying to keep myself, not let it get to me, and then throw the season away or anything. But
that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to ask you, Adam. Is the first time you're possibly eyeing the national championship here. I mean, you've been up front so many times, but now you're going after the granddaddy with IMCA. How do you keep yourself calm so you don't get too rattled, but also in the same time, does this put more pressure on you to more pressure on you to perform better as the season goes on, or are you just, not really letting it bother you?
Well, I this is my 10th year racing. I started in 2005, and this is my 10th year. So, I've definitely learned. I'll never forget my first track championship I got. It was 2008 at Deschler, and I'll never forget how nervous I was. That lap, because it came down to the last night, and I remember sitting in the car just getting and being a nervous wreck. And when I finally got that first track championship, it's just being in situations like that. It helps, it helps keep you calm and especially, the thing you got to watch for now is, you can't have too many bad nights. So it does change the way, you kind of race a feature. Obviously you got to get to the front, but you can't put yourself in positions on the racetrack, where, you put your car three wide with, most of the time when you're three wide, it just don't work out very well.
Coming from the guy who got a win three wide on the fourth turn.
Well,
your results aren't making that a very good argument.
one lap, especially the last one, is okay. But yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about the start of your career. You mentioned you've kind of raced everything. What got you into it, and why the 6A?
My dad's number was 6R. And then Mark Martin. I was always a huge Mark Martin fan. He ran 6 for many, many years. And at the time, my dad was racing like a factory stock division at Beatrice Speedway, and it was basically the same rules as the hobby stock, but you could run a Hoosier, a little more motor and stuff like that. So he raced hobby stock every now and then. So we had a Speedway kit car. We bought a roll cage from Speedway Motors. It was actually the first metric car that my dad ever built. He'd always run Camaros and Novas and stuff. And we built that in 2002. Well, then 2005 came around, and then that was the first year the IMCA started letting 14-year-olds race. So, and at the time you had to send in, kind of a resume to IMCA, and then they determined if you could race or not. So did that, got my license, and started racing in Beatrice Speedway in a hobby stock. Did that for 2005 and 2006, and really, didn't really, we were consistent, but 2006 was just a terrible year. Rolled my car, and just about anything and everything that could happen happened that year. And then 2007, I went up to the factory stock division, and I got my first win April 28th, 2007, and got one the first race of the year, and proceeded to just fall apart the rest of the year. It was a bad season. So after that year was over, went back to a hobby stock in 2008, and I ran a factory stock. I ran 2 classes, and I had 10 wins that year. That was kind of when things started to turn for me, and I could actually start running good and competitive. And I had 10 wins that year in 2008. Won the championship at Deschler. I guess what really kind of proved to me that, we were, I could actually drive is, I went to the state fair, and, we put on a pretty good clinic. I won that one pretty bad. And then I went to Shelby County Speedway, which at that time, Andy Beckman, there were some big names that were racing there, and, Doug Smith, all, big names, and, went to there, and I got third the first night, and it was a 2-day show, and IMCA proceeded to just tell me how illegal my car was, and they basically told me don't bring it back, and which we won't build our own cars. We always push the limits on the rules and stuff, but they couldn't actually get me for anything, but basically just told me to just don't bring it back. So, well, then I showed up the next day, and I was running second to Doug Smith, and then I got a flat. But after that, that kind of proved myself that I could actually race against these guys and actually be competitive, and it gave me a lot of confidence. And then I actually got a guy that offered me to drive his modified. So I did that. Had a lot of fun in that. That was definitely a different experience. In 2010, I've raced a sport mod. And then 2011, I went back to hobby stock and been in hobby stock ever since, except for last year.
What about your paint scheme? I'm kind of wondering where you managed to get that for this year.
Oh, Scott Bloomquist. He's the man, in my opinion, when it comes to late model racing.
Yeah.
He's definitely a different character, I guess you could say. You don't talk much, but when I did that in 2010, we actually had a phone call. Actually, Buddy, you called me up and told me that they were actually had seen that in my car.
Yeah,
and
I was in it. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep. And so I actually had to get a phone call from Scott Bloomquist's mom, I believe, and I had to send them a picture of the car to prove to them that it wasn't an identical copy. Because if it was, and I had T-shirts made, I was going to have to give them a percentage because that's copyrighted.
Right.
So that was actually kind of cool, for them to notice, who the hell I was. But it ended up not being, an identical copy or anything. But this year, I wanted to go back to hobby stock racing, and I don't know. I just one night I just thought about doing it again, and a lot of people seem to like it. So.
Well, it definitely does look
pretty. Might stick with it.
It's pretty badass. But I was kind of wondering, did they ask you to not run it just out of just saying, hey, listen, that's kind of our scheme, please don't run it, or did they give you kind of just go ahead and have at it, or was there just no conversation after you sent them the picture?
I basically, if it was going to be a problem, they were going to call me back or contact me back, but I never did. So I took that as they were okay with it. I mean, you don't see a lot of guys that use Bloomquist themes, but and if they do, they're kind of different colors and stuff. But I didn't hear anything back, so I think they're okay with it. I'd love to be, some night when he's there, I'd like to go take my car, like if we're racing at the same track or something, and
the Silver Dollar Nationals.
He says.
Yeah, bring it out to the Silver Dollar Nationals and hot lap it.
Pull out with the late models.
Yeah.
Well, when Scott's mom called you, were they actually pretty nice about it at first?
Oh yeah. She was nice. She was just explaining to me, that it's copyrighted. His design is copyrighted, and that they have the right to. It was like a certain percentage. I can't remember what it. But if I had T-shirts I was supposed to give them a certain percentage of how many shirts I sold and stuff.
Yeah. Well, we just want to let you know we're going to sue the shit out of you if it's
yeah, pretty much.
But, hey, you have a nice day.
You want my autograph? It'll be in the legal papers.
All right. Any plans? I know it's early in the year and you're still running, but do you have aspirations of doing anything other than dirt racing? You going to try to go asphalt? You going to try to go late model? Anything like that? Sprint car, maybe?
Oh, it's. I mean, obviously, I just like to keep this as my hobby, but, if something was to open up, I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, if an opportunity came along, I mean, yeah, I'd definitely, go try it, but, in dirt racing around here, it's just, you just don't get noticed like that. And anymore, like, I had actually, just for shits and giggles, I contacted some ARCA teams, just to see what that all is about, like, and I would say probably 90% of them ARCA teams rely on the driver to fund their car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got this one team, I can't remember who it was, they sent me, and it was like, oh my God, to run a season, I believe, was like $1 million that the driver had to come up with.
In sponsorship dollars, right?
Yeah, to run their car, the driver had to give them.
Wow.
Then they had like super speedways. It was like 300,000 or something like that. It was ridiculous. I mean, I was shocked that then that's how most of them are. They rely on the driver. So when you're watching them races, I mean, most of the time, that's the driver and of course the driver sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what it is they have a sponsor. That's what they ask, and but that's what funds most of those teams.
Adam,
but like I said, it was, if an opportunity came along, I mean, yeah, I'd give it a try. But
Adam,
I don't think about it.
You were dropping names like Doug Smith, Andy Beckman. Of course, everybody's heard of Shannon Anderson. You're name dropping a lot of people that you obviously respected. When you're running against them, you take a sense of pride in that. Ironically, you're not very old. What are you, 19, 20 maybe?
23.
23.
23, okay. Well, when I'm 40, you look like you're 19 or 20. So, but even at 23, there's a lot of hobby drivers that are younger than you, and now they're looking at Adam Armstrong going, I wish I could be, as good as Adam, or, I wish I can be like Adam. So with you name dropping them, the guys that you respected, who do you think is an up-and-comer in the hobby stocks that we might want to watch out for?
Last year, Kenny Champ, he runs out in Iowa. He's in a sport mod this year, but man, the kid can drive. I don't know how old he was, 16, 17 last year, and I mean, he was pulling moves like he'd been at it for 15, 20 years. He really impressed me. I was racing a stock car, so I really wasn't, didn't get a race against him or anything, but I got a chance to actually watch him, and it was real impressive to watch, the way he drove, and a few nights, he got a little over his head, but I mean, he's young, he's still learning and stuff, but he definitely impressed me, but yeah, I think he's racing a sport mod this year, but I think he had like over 15, 16 wins last year, and as an IMCA rookie too.
Well, so, Adam, before we wrap it up tonight, let's we always got to take care of your sponsors for this segment, and they're the ones that make you go around the track. So send out a couple thank yous.
Yeah, of course, Jet Racing, Johnny. He's like I said, he got me a new car. We're working on getting it together. Scat Crankshafts, Icon Pistons. Those guys have been with me for about 2 years now. Champion Racing Oil. First Rate Pumping Services. My dad always, taught me everything I know, and builds great motors. We build our own motors, and Schmidt Machine out of Fairbury. They do a lot of our machine work for our motors. My Aunt Bonnie, of course, my mom and my stepdad. Always, when I'm racing, they've got my little boy in the stands. Just my family and stuff for, sticking with me and supporting me and helping me out whenever they can. And, I don't have a big tow rig or, anything like that. I got a 96 Chevy pickup and an old trailer house frame. That's what I go to the racetrack with. But, I appreciate what I got and I just go with it. So I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to get on here and talk to you. It really means a lot to me.
Well, we appreciate you putting on a show when you do, man. You do a good job.
Thank you very much.
And don't worry, this ain't copyrighted. We're not going to sue you.
Oh, thank God.
I don't think anybody wants to take our likenesses.
No.
All right, man. Have a good one, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
All right, see ya. Adam Armstrong, driver of the 6A hobby stock out of Beatrice in Hays, Kansas. Is that what
Hays, Kansas. Yeah, he'll go all over it. I tell you what, 23 years old, you watch this guy race. Does he race a lot? Sure. But
that's what you need sometimes.
Well, yeah, he's got a lot of seat time, but for 23 years old, kind of like what he did, which is a class act by calling out Kenny Champ and telling us that Kenny Champ, 15, 16 years old, and the guy looks like he's been racing for 15, 20 years. Well, Adam Armstrong looks the exact same way. Adam Armstrong is a very slick, very methodical. He's not a risk taker, and he's a lot like Mark Martin. Play it safe, get to the front. Don't try to be Superman on the track. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, one hell of a nice kid, good parents, and the fact that he's 23 and funded, he's got a lot of good sponsors, but all the sponsors in the world, I mean, you're still going to end up spending money out of your pocket, and he's a new dad, it's good to see him have a young boy in his life. So he's got a lot of good things. I expect big, big things. If he doesn't win the national championship this year, look at for next year. But I predict 3 championships nationally for this kid in the hobby stocks if he stays there, just because he's that good.
Yeah, he is. I mean, what did I see? He's got 12 wins in the season already.
Yeah, 15 starts, 12 wins, 6 or 7 over those are against specials. And the reason why I point out the fact that they're specials is because if you go to the Super Nationals, that's a special. Now that's, over the top car count, but you go to the Charlie Clark, you take the car count at the Charlie Clark versus a weekly show, there's a lot more cars. So when you go to these specials, there's a lot more cars. The competition's tougher. And so when he can hold his own there, half his wins at specials this year, and we're not even out of May. We got June, July, and August to go. Wow, the world is at this kid's fingertips right here, and he'll know how to dominate it.
You can find him on Facebook, Adam Armstrong. Follow his racing, and he's going to be exciting, one of these guys to watch. Big news this week in the dirt racing world, and in fact, buddy, you're the one that brought it to my attention, and we called in a couple of our sources to make sure it wasn't just one of those
I want to clarify.
rumors.
I didn't call. You called.
Yes, I called. I called the source that I trust him to be in the know, and as far as we've been able to tell, and as far as we've been told, it looks like Mike Gocke is going to do a 5 or 6 race kind of trial run with the crazy Team 99 of Jesse Saubing and Jesse Saubing Racing. So we talked about it last weekend on the front stretch that Dylan Smith and Mike Gocke split, parted ways, and didn't take long for somebody to pick up Mike, and they're going to do a trial run with him.
No, but you know what? Does that hurt Smith? I think it does, but at the same time, Smith is so accomplished in what he does that, I mean, even without Gocke, he's been winning races constantly.
The guy I got to confirm this said that it's not going to hurt Dylan win the win category. Where it's going to hurt Dylan is if he gets into damage or gets into trouble during a heat race. Mike was really good at wrenching on the car, getting it fixed, and doing wholesale changes to it to make sure you get that win in the feature. And Dylan's a smart driver. He's a smart guy. He could set up a car and he can take care of it. But, I mean, you know this. You've talked about it several times this year about, I think it's Fred Lower, one of the guys.
One of my crew guys, yeah.
That you would have been packed up and on your way down.
I'm going to tell you right now,
if it wasn't for him.
The fact that you mentioned Fred's an awesome guy. Me and Harley, we nickname him Monkey or NASCAR because he's
I don't want to know.
Yeah, well he's so small that he climbs around the underside of the modified like he's in a jungle gym. So we call him Monkey.
Better reason than I was thinking.
Anyways, shut up. So we're out at I-80 Speedway last Friday night and we blew up a transmission in the hot laps, and I told him, I was like, well, we got plenty of time for the feature. They'll let us tag the rear of the feature. And Fred and Harley, and I'm going to do another shout out. He came to help us out, James Showers. Mm-hmm. Fred and Harley well, we didn't work on a car all week just to sit here and watch races. So they literally in under an hour got the transmission changed, and you need crew guys like that. Yeah. It's not that I don't know how to do it,
right?
But they went out there, they take pride in that, and and thank God, if it wasn't for Harley and Fred, I'd be hurting this year.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that our guy was talking about with Gocke and Smith, is that now Gocke can bring that experience of as clean of a racer as Jesse is. Every once in a while, he ends up on top of Chris Abelson. And he needs.
Well, I would say that.
I know, I'm just kidding around, but yeah, no, you need that good crewman that can. I mean, basically, just manage the crew.
But
you talked about before we went on the air that you don't really call them crewmen in this case.
I don't necessarily call them crewmen. I mean, if Harley is my quote unquote crew chief. But, they don't walk around going, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. They're not a Chad Knaus or a Steve Letarte mentality, where like, okay, we have this guy for this. Everybody works together. But, in my opinion, and that's what Harley does a lot. But the nice thing about Gocke and Smith, Gocke took a young Smith, turned him into a phenom, taught Smith everything that Gocke knows. So now Gocke knows, or Smith knows what Gocke knows. So if they split up, it's not going to hurt Smith. Mm-hmm. Smith is always going to be, he's maybe mid-20s, and he's a phenom now. What's he going to be like in 10 years when he's 35? He's just going to get that much better because he's got such a solid foundation to grow on. Now, Saubing, on the other hand, has a very solid foundation. That whole team, I've never seen a team that close. Those guys are some of the hardest working guys on dirt. Not that the other teams aren't, but this team in particular, Team Crazy, some of the hardest working guys on dirt. They bust their ass week in and week out. And so now Gocke's come on board, and I don't see Gocke coming in and going, well, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. Yeah. He's just there for guidance. But, I mean, that's going to be an unstoppable. If people don't like Jesse winning every week, well, you might as well sit back and just enjoy the show because it's going to get worse.
I guess when you told me about this tonight, I thought, why does Jesse need Mike Gocke? I mean, Jesse came within 2 points of a championship last year. And basically, Luke Cochran talking about at the beginning of the season, he says, we blame those 2 points 100% completely solely on tires. Had I been on top of it and buying Jesse tires like I was at the end of the year, we'd have had a couple more wins. We'd have won ourselves a championship. There was also this little car count thing, but we won't get into that. But my thought immediately when you brought it up was, well, does Jesse really need a talented crew chief like Mike Gocke? It kind of seems like he's got it on his own.
He's got a lot of it on his own. You know, there was an awesome spread about the Black Stallion. Black.
Oh, you said
the Black Stallion. It was in Speedway Illustrated. They did about a 4-page article about Dylan Smith, and so I read that, and I was reading what Gocke was doing. Now, everybody knows Gocke wrenched on the car. Dylan Smith wrenched on the car. Gocke built bodies. Dylan Smith did everything that Gocke did. Don't think that he didn't. But the thing that Gocke brought to Dylan was some issues on how to think about your program. Go out there and have fun. Do the best you can do. Try to approach things from a different psychological angle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And that might be a help to Jesse.
Big race coming up this weekend, the Charlie Clark Memorial. A lot of really good cars, including Dylan Smith, have already checked in for that.
Dylan Smith, Jesse Sabine, the big boys are coming.
It's going to be a great race. We hope to see you out there.
Nebraska 360 Sprints are going to be there.
Should we start? Do we even bother placing bets on that race, or just go ahead and? Well, actually, you know what? You do bother placing bets on that race because as much as I like Jack Dover, and as good as he is at I-80, there's no surefire thing that he's going to win there.
The better bet would be, is Homepride going to make a clean sweep of this with Dover, Cook, and Sabine?
That's kind of an interesting bet there. I wonder. Maybe we could do a little side bet.
Dennis Cook just won last Friday night. Yeah. Sabine won at Harlan Saturday night, and Dover won at Crawford County the last night they ran sprint cars.
Yeah, and Sabine won that night too, I think.
Yeah.
Sabine's gone 3 for 3 at Crawford for points-paying weeks.
And it's probably going to continue, especially even more so now.
We're going to have to put a bounty on him at Crawford. I'm going to talk to the officials about it this week. We're just going to have to.
The
put a bounty
last
on
time
him.
there was a bounty on Jesse, it never was collected, and Jesse at the end of the season took the bounty and ran.
Well, why not? Let's put a bounty on him and make these. Because to be real honest with you, it's the Jesse Sabine show there on Friday nights. The guy is just ungodly talented, and we got to do something to get these guys up on the wheel and pushing a little harder. I'm either in favor of. I joked with him that I want the bounty or the Sabine rule, and that's basically that. It's like Craig Kelly told me about it. He kind of joked that it was the Joe Koziski rule. He would invert a number of cars 1 week. So let's just say that Joe started on the pole for the feature. Well, then I'll invert the top 10. And if Joe came back that night and won it, then he inverts the top 12. If Joe came back and won it the next week, he inverts the top 14. If Joe came back and won it, then it's a 16.
Yeah.
I said, that's the new rule we're going to do at Crawford. We're just going to start you in the back of the pack. Because it makes for great racing to watch it roll through. He kind of, I don't know about that. All right, what do you got going on this weekend? You're not going to get the car. You're going to take the weekend off?
Well, we had a lot of damage to the car, to the Prowler. Blew up 2 transmissions, destroyed the drive shaft, brake line, shifter rod linkage. Drive shaft came through the cockpit, so we got a lot of tore up sheet metal. Actually, as of right now, the car, we're doing our best. We're doing our best to make it out there Friday night. Racers are not going to want to hear me say this, but because of our points run, we are doing the rain dance. So if we get rain on Friday, then I'll be all right. But if it doesn't rain on Friday, then
who knows?
Yeah,
it could
who knows?
You think it's a 50-50 right now, or
it's a 50-50 right now? I need 4 certain parts. 3 of the 4 are going to be easy to get. The 4th one is just the transmission.
Yeah,
and that's cha-ching right there. One thing I do want to tell you:
you got married. You got credit.
Maybe bedroom credit.
Nah, she told me that's pretty much going.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, anyways, I do want to tell everybody: this Friday. I do have T-shirts and hoodies finally available for sale. They are delivered, and we have them.
All right. I've already got my tickets for the Charlie Clark. Are you going to be out there?
If they run, providing that there's no rain, there's a very good chance I'm going to be there.
Good. Cool. Yeah, there is a slight chance of rain all weekend long, and next week looks pretty moist. There's 40-50% chance from the National Weather Service, weather.com, but You never can trust those things. I mean,
all I know is it can rain Friday. I'm good. Other than that, it can be 80 and sunny and beautiful. I don't care. But Friday, I want rain.
All right. Thank you so much to Adam Armstrong for joining us. Follow him online at Adam Armstrong. You can follow me at Dan Taylor. You can follow him at Buddy Ray Jones. And you can follow, the Slingin Dirt doesn't have a Facebook page, but maybe we'll have to change that.
You will have to change that.
Let's get a Slingin Dirt Facebook page.
Yeah, why not?
Thank you for joining us. We'll do it again next week. Have a good night.